Rex Ryan just got humiliated on live TV. After blasting Shedeur Sanders over that viral miming clip, veteran reporter Kay Cabot stepped in and torched his argument. The entire panel flipped, and now Rex is taking heat from fans and insiders for going too far on Shedeur.
Him really, really, really strongly and well, and this was a reaction to that. And we have to sometimes remember that these are very, very young men. People come into the NFL with different levels of maturity.
Much relevance this deep into the regular season.
Yeah.
So it's not even about, before we get to the point, we have to understand what the reality is.
Yeah.
When Shedeur does anything, it's always critique. What I don't like is you may not be able to relate to what he's doing or how he's doing it, but you can't control and make it be what you want it to be, because it's not that. When you hear Rex Ryan's remarks, these things are something that he's spewing without actually having facts to back it. And if you do have facts, Rex Ryan, you have to come forth with the source. The issue is, get your ass in the front row and study.
Rex Ryan made a massive mistake. He went on national TV and absolutely destroyed Shedeur Sanders. Ripped him really, really, really strongly, according to one of the league's top insiders. He thought it was just another hot take, just another day at the analyst desk. But then Shedeur responded with something nobody expected. Complete silence. He mimed his answers at a press conference, and the internet exploded. Critics called it immature, disrespectful, unprofessional. But here's the twist. Kay Cabot, one of the most credible voices covering the NFL, just came out swinging in Shedeur's defense. And her explanation? It's making Rex Ryan look like he completely misread the situation. This isn't about immaturity. This is about a young man who knows exactly how powerful his voice is and chose not to use it. So why is Kay defending him? What did Rex Ryan actually say? And is Shedeur Sanders playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers?
He's got a lot of personality. He has done a lot of things right here. He's working really, really hard to come up the learning curve. And this is the first time in his life and his career that he's had to be a backup. And it's difficult. It's difficult. He's trying to be patient. He's trying to do the right things. But it cannot be easy for him to believe that he can go out there and start football games and have to be the third string quarterback right now.
I understand why he did what he did. And I'm a Shedeur fan, and I hope he gets a fair chance at some point, somewhere, to maximize his skills, whatever they may be. We won't find out until he has a chance to play. But a
lot of teams are willing to risk what's mounting in circus-like attention that he brings naturally. So therefore, the Cleveland Browns were stuck with this idea. If we cut Shedeur, that will be bad for business.
That wouldn't be relevant at all.
Bad for business. Business being, he's good for business on our roster. If we cut him, he's going to be picked up by somebody. When have we ever had a person on our roster to move the needle? We have the most dynamic defensive player in the game today, and he is a person that is extremely meek. He's a person that does not scream to the top of his lungs. I don't even know what his sack celebration is.
No.
He goes to work, he shows up, he just sacks quarterbacks, wreak havoc, and get on out the way.
Yeah.
That's who Myles Garrett is.
Yeah. Correct.
The Cleveland Browns have never had a player in modern day that pushes the needle like Shedeur Sanders. And I'm saying this with the additions of them saying, hey, what about Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield didn't push the needle like Shedeur Sanders.
Let's rewind. You probably saw the clip. Shedeur Sanders, third-string quarterback for the Browns, standing in front of reporters, not saying a single word, just gestures. hand motions, miming. The media scrum was confused, cameras were rolling, and social media immediately turned it into a circus. What's wrong with this kid? Does he think he's above talking to the media? This is what happens when you give these guys too much attention too early.
What you're saying, but I'm guessing that Shedeur Sanders didn't want the words to come out of his mouth because he didn't want to overshadow Dillon Gabriel's day. He knows that he is a content machine. I have heard him say that. He knows exactly when he steps into a room, it's all about him all the time. There was an encounter in training camp where a player was speaking at a podium and Shedeur walked out to go to his podium and everybody started following Shedeur and he stopped dead in his tracks and he told the PR staff under his breath, he wasn't trying to do it for show, I'm not going to talk until Jerome is done speaking. I kind of overheard that, but it was a cool just example of how he knows that he steals the spotlight all the time. So I actually think he was probably trying not to steal Dillon Gabriel's day and sort of keeping his mouth shut while also getting a point across. So again, these guys are young and it doesn't always play out the way maybe they think it will, but I think that was probably his intent.
But here's what most people missed. This wasn't random. This wasn't some tantrum. This was a direct response to Rex Ryan, former NFL head coach turned ESPN analyst, who had just gone scorched earth on Shedeur. And when I say scorched earth, I mean he didn't just critique his game. He didn't just question his talent. He went personal. He went hard. Kay Cabot, who covers the Browns for Cleveland.com and has been around the league long enough to see everything, said Rex ripped him really, really, really strongly. That's not analysis. That's an attack.
Perspective because we've already learned from the mistakes of youth. But it would have been so easy to just walk in and say, I'm happy for Dillon. I'm here to support Dillon. I'm here to continue to learn. And I'll be ready to go when my number is called. It's that simple. And that would have created a headline, but it wouldn't have created a mess. And I think there's a difference. Everything he does is going to create a headline. But you don't need to create a mess along with the headline.
Now, most rookies and young players, they'd fire back on Twitter. They'd drop a cryptic Instagram story. They'd let their emotions spill out in a post-game interview and make it worse. But Shedeur, he chose silence. And that silence is what's driving everyone crazy. Here's where Kay Cabot steps in with a perspective that completely flips the script. She was asked about the miming incident, and instead of piling on like so many others, she defended him. And not in a, he's young, give him a break kind of way. She defended him with context, with understanding, with actual insight into who Shedeur Sanders is behind the cameras. Kay said something that should make everyone rethink this situation. I was surprised that he would handle it like that. She admitted it caught her off guard. But then she added the most important part. This was a reaction to what Rex Ryan said. Rex came at him hard. Rex made it personal. And Shedeur, instead of clapping back with words that could be twisted, dissected, and turned into more headlines, decided to respond without giving anyone ammunition. Think about that for a second. He's sitting there, frustrated, probably hurt by what Rex said, and he makes the decision to stay silent. Not because he doesn't have anything to say, but because he knows exactly what happens when he opens his mouth. Kay dropped a bombshell when she said this. He knows that he is a content machine. Those were her exact words. Shedeur Sanders is fully aware that every single thing he says becomes a headline. Every quote gets clipped. Every reaction gets analyzed. Every emotion gets turned into a debate show segment. And here's the kicker. She revealed a moment from training camp that proves he's not just aware of it, he's actively trying to manage it. During training camp, another player was speaking at the podium. Shedeur walked out of the facility to head somewhere, and when he saw the cameras and reporters, he stopped dead in his tracks. He told the PR staff, quietly, under his breath, that he wasn't going to talk until Jerome Ford, the player at the podium, was done speaking. He didn't want to steal the spotlight. He didn't want his presence to overshadow a teammate. Mary Kay overheard it. She said it was a cool example of how he knows that he steals the spotlight all the time. This isn't ego. This is self-awareness. Shedeur Sanders understands that his name, his brand, his father's legacy, it all creates gravity. And sometimes that gravity pulls attention away from people who deserve it. So when Dillon Gabriel was announced as the starting quarterback for the Browns, and Shedeur showed up to that press conference miming his answers, Mary Kay believes he was trying not to overshadow Dillon's moment. He didn't want his words, his inevitable headline-generating words, to become the story. He wanted Dillon to have his day. Now, did it work? No, obviously not. The miming became a bigger story than anything Dillon said. But here's the thing. Mary Kay thinks Shedeur's intent was genuine. He was trying to keep his mouth shut while still acknowledging the media. He was trying to make a point without making it about himself. And honestly, that's a level of thought that most 23-year-olds don't have. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Shedeur Sanders is the third-string quarterback. Third string. For a guy who was a Heisman candidate, who led Colorado to some of their biggest wins in years, who was projected by many to be a first- or second-round pick, this has to be brutal. Mary Kay said it herself. This is the first time in his life and his career that he's had to be a backup. And it's difficult. Imagine that. You've been the guy your entire life. High school star, college starter from day one. Your dad's coaching you, building an entire program around you. You're on magazine covers. You're in commercials. You're expected to dominate. And then you get to the NFL, and you're not just a backup, you're third string. You're holding a clipboard. You're running scout team. You're watching other guys take the reps you think you should be getting. Mary Kay said, it cannot be easy for him to believe that he can go out there and start football games and have to be the third-string quarterback right now. She's right. That's a mental battle. That's a daily grind of trying to stay ready, stay confident, stay patient. When everything inside you is screaming that you should be playing, and here's the part that makes this even tougher. Shedeur is working. Mary Kay made it clear. He's working really, really hard to come up the learning curve. This isn't a guy who's checked out. This isn't a guy who's sulking in the corner or causing problems in the locker room. He's putting in the work. He's trying to learn the system. He's trying to be a professional. But when Rex Ryan goes on TV and tears him apart, when the criticism isn't about his play, because he hasn't played, but about who he is, how he carries himself, the attention he gets, that's when it gets personal. That's when a young player who's already dealing with the frustration of being third string feels like he has to respond. And Shedeur's response? Silence. Controlled. Calculated. Maybe a little petty, sure, but also kind of genius. Mary Kay said something that a lot of people need to hear. These are very, very young men. People come into the NFL with different levels of maturity. She compared it to what's happening in Tennessee, where head coach Brian Callahan had to publicly address comments made by a player, saying his team is ass. Different players handle things differently. Some are media trained from day one. Some are naturally mature. Some are still figuring it out. Shedeur Sanders is figuring it out. And Mary Kay's point is this. He didn't mean any harm. She said, I don't think Shedeur meant any harm. He's got a lot of personality. He's done a lot of things right. He's trying to navigate a situation that nobody prepared him for. She even said, I'm a Shedeur fan, and I hope he gets a fair chance at some point somewhere to maximize his skills. That's a respected NFL insider going on record and saying she believes in him. She wants to see him succeed. She thinks he deserves a real shot. But here's where she had a concern. And this is the one criticism she did offer, and it's fair. She said the miming incident overshadowed what was supposed to be Dillon Gabriel's day. That was her disappointment. Not that Shedeur responded to Rex Ryan, not that he was frustrated, but that the execution of his response ended up stealing the spotlight anyway. She said, "I don't know that he made this connection, and this may just be a product of being not yet 25, and your brain isn't fully formed. You don't understand the connection between the things you do and the consequences." That's real. That's honest. Shedeur probably thought he was doing the right thing by staying quiet, but he didn't anticipate that the act of miming would create an even bigger circus. Mary Kay said most people don't understand why he did it, because they're not paying attention to Rex Ryan for a variety of reasons. And that's the truth. If you didn't see Rex's comments, if you didn't know the context, you just see a clip of Shedeur acting weird at a press conference, and you think, what's this kid's problem? But if you know what Rex said, if you understand the pressure Shedeur's under, if you realize he's trying to balance being himself with not overshadowing his teammates, then it makes a lot more sense. Mary Kay even offered an alternative explanation that honestly makes Shedeur look even more thoughtful. She said, "I'm guessing that Shedeur Sanders didn't want the words to come out of his mouth because he didn't want to overshadow Dillon Gabriel's day. He knew that if he spoke, it would become about him, so he tried to stay silent. He tried to acknowledge the media without giving them sound bites. Did it backfire? Yes. But was the intent there? Also, yes. So here's the question we need to ask. Was Shedeur Sanders being immature, or was he being self-aware? Was this a mistake? Or was this a 23-year-old trying to navigate an impossible situation? And more importantly, why is Rex Ryan out here throwing haymakers at a third-string quarterback who hasn't even played a snap? Let's be real for a second. Mary Kay Cabot laid out exactly what Shedeur Sanders should have done. And honestly, she's not wrong. She said it would have been so easy for him to just walk into that press conference and say, "I'm happy for Dillon. I'm here to support Dillon. I'm here to continue to learn, and I'll be ready to go when my number is called." That's it. 5 sentences, clean, professional, mature. Clean, professional, mature. And you know what? That would have created a headline, but it wouldn't have created a mess. Mary Kay's exact words. Everything he does is going to create a headline, but there's a difference between a headline and a circus, between getting attention and getting the wrong kind of attention. So, yeah, Shedeur could have handled it better. Nobody's arguing that he executed this perfectly. But here's what we need to talk about. Why are we holding a 23-year-old backup quarterback to a higher standard than we're holding a former NFL head coach and current ESPN analyst? Rex Ryan is in his 60s. He's been in this league for decades. He knows how the media works. He knows how his words carry weight. And he chose to go after Shedeur Sanders, a kid who hasn't played a single NFL snap, with everything he had. Really, really, really strongly, according to Mary Kay. That's not analysis. That's not constructive criticism. That's personal. And where's the accountability for that? Where's the conversation about whether Rex Ryan should be using his platform to tear down young players who are already in difficult situations? Shedeur is third string. He's frustrated. He's working his tail off behind the scenes, trying to prove himself, trying to earn a spot, and Rex decides to pile on? That's the part that doesn't sit right with me. Here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders that people either love or hate. He's unapologetically himself. He's got personality. He's got swagger. He's got confidence. And in today's NFL, where every player is supposed to give the same boring, coach-approved answers, Shedeur stands out. He's a content machine, like Mary Kay said. He's box office. He's must-watch TV. But that comes with a price. When you're that magnetic, when you draw that much attention, every move you make gets scrutinized. Every decision gets debated. Every mistake gets magnified. And here's what I think is happening. Shedeur is learning in real time how to manage that. He's figuring out the balance between being authentic and being smart, between standing up for himself and knowing when to let things go, between responding to disrespect and rising above it. That training camp moment that Mary Kay revealed, that's growth. That's awareness. Shedeur stopping in his tracks and saying, "I'm not going to talk until Jerome is done speaking." That's him recognizing that his presence shifts the energy in a room. That's him actively trying to be a good teammate, even when it would be easy to just walk to the podium and take over. Does he get it right every time? No. The miming thing? Probably not the move. But the intent behind it? The thought process? That shows maturity that people aren't giving him credit for. Mary Kay said, "These guys are young, and it doesn't always play out the way they think it will." That's the reality. Shedeur thought staying silent would keep the focus on Dylan Gabriel. He thought not giving quotes would prevent him from overshadowing his teammate. He miscalculated. But the fact that he was even thinking about that says something. Let's talk about the bigger picture here. Shedeur Sanders is in a position that most high-profile college quarterbacks never experience. He's not starting. He's not even the backup. He's QB3. And for someone with his resume, his pedigree, his confidence, that's a humbling experience. Mary Kay said it perfectly. It cannot be easy for him to believe that he can go out there and start football games and have to be the third-string quarterback right now. That internal battle, believing you're good enough while the depth chart says otherwise, that's mentally exhausting. But here's what separates the guys who make it from the guys who don't. The guys who make it use this time to learn. They study, they prepare, they stay ready, and when their opportunity comes, because it always comes in the NFL, injuries happen, situations change, they're ready to seize it. Mary Kay believes in Shedeur. She said, "I hope he gets a fair chance at some point somewhere to maximize his skills." She's watching him work. She's seeing the effort. She's seeing a young man who's frustrated but not defeated, who's impatient but not disruptive, who's trying to figure it all out while the whole world watches. And that's what makes this situation so fascinating. Shedeur isn't some practice squad guy hoping for a shot. He's a former Heisman candidate. He's Deion Sanders' son. He's got millions of followers. He's got endorsement deals. He's got a platform. And right now, he's third string. That tension between who he was and where he is, that's the story. That's what makes every move he makes so compelling. That's why a press conference where he doesn't say anything becomes national news. So here's what I want to know from you. Drop a comment and let's talk about this. Do you think Shedeur Sanders was being immature with the miming? Or do you think he was actually being strategic? Do you think Rex Ryan was out of line for going so hard at a third-string quarterback? And here's the big one. Do you think Shedeur deserves a real chance to start? Or does he need to earn it from the bottom like everyone else? Because here's my take, and you can disagree with me in the comments. I think Shedeur Sanders is handling an impossible situation better than most people would. He's 23 years old. He's never been a backup. He's dealing with expectations that no other third-string quarterback has to deal with. He's got critics like Rex Ryan coming at him for reasons that have nothing to do with his play on the field. And yeah, the miming thing wasn't perfect. It created more noise than it should have. But you know what? It also got people talking about how young players are treated by the media. It got people asking why analysts feel comfortable tearing down guys who haven't even had a chance to prove themselves yet. It got Mary Kay Cabot, a respected, credible voice, to come out and defend him, to provide context, to remind everyone that these are human beings, not just content for hot takes. Shedeur Sanders is figuring it out. He's learning. He's growing. And honestly, I think he's going to be just fine. Because the guys who make it in this league aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who learn from them. Mary Kay said she's a Shedeur fan. She hopes he gets his chance. And you know what? So do I. Not because of his name. Not because of his dad. But because I've seen the work. I've seen the awareness. I've seen a young man trying to navigate a really difficult situation with more grace than people are giving him credit for. So Rex Ryan can say what he wants. The critics can keep piling on. But here's the reality. Shedeur Sanders isn't going anywhere. He's too talented. He's too driven. He's too focused. And when his number gets called, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, he's going to be ready. The question is, will the people who doubted him be ready to admit they were wrong? Look, this story isn't over. Shedeur's journey is just beginning. And whether you love him or you're skeptical, you can't deny that he's one of the most interesting players to watch right now. Not just because of what he does on the field, but because of how he handles everything off of it. If you want to keep up with the latest on Shedeur Sanders, the Browns quarterback situation, and all the drama that comes with it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're breaking down every angle, every development, every controversial moment, because that's what this channel does. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you Team Shedeur or Team Rex? Let's talk about it. And I'll see you in the next one. And I'll see you in the next one.